Today on the workbench I have another Proto 2000 unit here. This is a, let's see, GP9 I believe. Nope, GP7. Was wrong. Alright, we've got a GP7 that we're going to be putting a decoder in, and this is one of the 21 pin Loksound decoders. And we're going to be using one of the Decoder Buddies. This is the version 5 of it. We'll be upgrading to new LED headlights. I've also got to replace the gears in this because you can hear it when you run it. You can hear them thumping. So the gears will probably be the last thing I do. And I'm not even sure if I'll do that on camera or not, because it does run right now. But let's go ahead and start taking this apart. And to do that, we will remove our screws from our coupler box. And I think I've said this in every one of these that I've done. I really like these Proto locomotives. They're easy to work on. They're easy to put a decoder in. They're nice and heavy. They will pull a pretty good load. So let's... Nope. I believe I've got to take this screw out. Let's see. Oh, dummy. Pull the coupler out. Oh, I've got a screw underneath the fuel tank there. Pull that off. The fuel tank, they're usually double-sided taped on. Then we've got two screws right here on the side. Now, pull it right apart. And this does have a decoder in it right now. I'm not sure what kind of a decoder it is. Before I go any farther, let me hang on a second there. Okay, what I did there, I put this up on the programming track to read what kind of decoder this was. And to do that, use CV8. And I read that. My, whoever put this in there used a lot of black tape. I read the decoder value. It came up as 11. 11 is an NCE decoder. So that's nice to know. My land. This is why you shouldn't use black tape. The stuff gets gummy. And it traps the heat in too. So we'll set that aside, and I'll end up taking that apart at some time. Let's see now. And I am not going to use a lot of this. So go ahead and pull these clips off. Actually, not even going to waste my time pulling the clips off. just cut all that because I don't need it. I'm not going to use that light. Set that off to the side. That off to the side. And you can see we're picking up track power off of the frame there. And I'll do the same. And that's a pretty good method. It works. Let's see. But what I am going to do, where that screw is, that's where I'm going to put my Decoder Buddy. Oop. Since this is already DCC, I don't have to worry about it. Isolating the motor. Trying to get that screw back through that hole. Yeah. There we go. I'll go ahead and mount that. Okay, so there's our Decoder Buddy mounted. Of course, our decoder will be up here. And these are just little protective pads. And they can be trimmed off if needed. So what we've got, this is our track pickup. That'll go there, and then this will actually fold over, and I may not even have to fold it over. I could just completely get rid of that wire, turn that around, and solder it right to the pad. So I guess let's start here. I'm going to hook this wire. This is our left track pickup. Let me trim that off a little bit. Because that'll go right back in that. Yeah. There's a groove that'll go down into underneath the bulb that I am going to put in. A little bit of flux. There's that. Tuck that down in. Well, we won't have to worry about that being in the way. And we'll come back here to the back. We'll do the same thing in the back. First, I'm going to pull this board off. And I like to use these just to pull them straight up. Maneuver some things around here. We'll cut that off and redo that with just a little smaller bit. Tin that up. Okay. There's our track power. Now the motor will run straight across. Yep. Somewhere. Get that over there. And I'll pull that back up just so I can run my motor wire underneath in that little channel. And I am going to cut this off because I can solder that directly to the board. And I'll show you what I'm talking about here. I'll zoom in on this. Use my knife blade as kind of a spacer. Let's see, let me zoom in here. Nope. Too far. See, now you can see right there at the end of my knife blade That screw is what holds that to the frame, and that's where we get our right side pickup. So, well, when I say that, these will run long hood forward. So that'll be our, it'll actually be our left side pickup. But what I'll end up doing, I'm going to solder that tab right to the board, is what I'll do. Hopefully you can see that, because it looks like there's a glare from the light. But right now, to make this a little neater, I want to take my lights, which this will be my forward light, or front light. Let me zoom back out. This will be the front headlight. And the front headlight is white, so I've already got one made up. I need to put a piece of heat shrink on that, and I'll run this. Well, this one I won't have to run under. My rear one I'll have to run under the board to keep it looking kind of neat. Of course, I guess I could run it just right on top. But I don't want to do that. I want to run that underneath. That way we won't have to, we won't see any, we'll see very few wires. So right now I'm getting a piece of heat shrink out. To put over this electrode. And I think that I can get this on there all the way. I want my yellow. So I've put a piece of heat shrink over that, and then I'll get another piece, a little smaller piece, to put over the other side. That'll keep those all nice and neat. Let's see. Just going to shrink that up. That way we won't have to worry about anything shorting out. And now this one will go right here, but I'm going to take another piece of heat shrink and run over top, just as another added layer. Yep, I knew I shouldn't have done that way. we go. That'll work. Now let me pull this board back up. Now I can run. Oh. That'll run underneath there. Get our screw started again. A little spacer. Okay. So there's our front headlight. Go ahead and solder this to the board. If I can get that hot enough to flow. Turn this up a little bit. That's what I was trying to do. Now I want to look at that through my magnifier just to. Okay. It's in good shape. Won't have to worry about that board moving now. Now I can hook the motor up. Hook these up, but first I want to do this motor. Okay, now orange is the positive side and it's on the bottom. So let's see, what do I have? this front one. Should be the positive side. Trim that off. I'll trim this other one off too while I'm at it. Well, come up out of there. Tin that up. There's one side. There's that. There's that. So right now we are hooked up. I'm going to try this here real quick. see what we have. Once my system comes on. Oh. Well, dummy. How many of you out there are saying right now, you can't test that, dummy? You don't have the decoder on it. Now the decoder's on it. Now let's test it. Okay. We're going the right direction and everything. So it does work. Let me pull the decoder back off. Okay, now let's see. Looking for my screwdriver now. I want to loosen this up a touch. Move this headlight back some. That way it'll be under the I moved the headlight back, that way it'll be under the little pad here, because this sits down in that. So that'll set us up on that end. Now the other thing I'll do, I'll probably mount my speaker up here. That way I won't have to mill this frame or anything. Let's see now. You can take these, mount them to my Decoder Buddy. That'll sit on there just like that. Reverse. This corner back here is the forward pad. So I'll hook my yellow to it. And then my blue, you hook to these down the side here, any of them to the side. So we'll strip these wires. And I just strip a very tiny little bit here. Don't need much. Get some solder there. flux on the ends. Push that down a little bit, make it a little stiffer. So we've got that. There's one. Yeah, I don't have enough solder on something there. I think it's the pad. There we go. Okay. So that's for our forward light. These wires down in here. Now we've got our other bulb that I need to put some heat shrink on. So Nope. There's that. Don't have to worry about anything making contact. Then as a little added layer, put this piece over top of both. All that together. And this is my reverse. So this will set in here like this, and I'll have to pick my decoder up again. Move this out of the way. Now with everything underneath, put that back on there. And then we'll take and clip our wires here, shorten them down. Now I'm only using 2 out of, let's see, it's 8 lighting functions on this decoder board. No, it's 12. Let's see, let me put a little flux here in this corner, and then on one of those tabs. I don't like that one. Let me cut that off to trim that up a little bit. It was protruding out a little far. So there are my lights. Now I'm going to set it back up on here. Well, one more time, dummy. just a temporary. Well, for some reason, I don't have any light. Still no light. Well, this is probably a good place to take a break. Alright, I made it back, and I did have to do some troubleshooting like I said there when I left the video. But anyway, what I found, and I took a picture of it. I'll try to post it in this video. Let me zoom in here. And I did go ahead and finish this thing. So hopefully, oh, back out there a little bit. Okay. This part, I mean, I looked at this thing for a long time. I tried different things back here on the light board, and I know that looks like a mess, but it's the shine off of the lights. So anyway, I did get the lights to work, and I put LEDs in it, and they're under these covers. But what was wrong with this was all of these pins up here, well, all of them but this one up here, and that's not even a pin, that's just a blank. This first pin there was soldered down. All of these pins, there was no solder on any of these pins, so they were all up off of the board. So I don't think, yeah, you really can't see it from the side. I did solder them all down, but I mean I went through this thing and I looked at everything. I had the meter out and was testing from the board back here to each pin. I even went as far as I changed 2 of the small resistors on this board, and they're a 603 size resistor. These boards most of them come with a 2200 ohm resistor I put in 1,000 ohm resistor, or not, a 7, no, it was 1,000. I replaced two resistors, and these things, well, they're a 603, so they're the size of, let me see if I can find that one. I took it out, and I had laid it up here on this little pad, but evidently I've lost it. So I even went as far as, when I couldn't find what I was looking for, or the trouble that I was looking for, I even contacted the manufacturer, and he got back to me. Great guy. I really do recommend these Decoder Buddies. I mean, for the ease of installation, they're great. He emailed me back probably within 20 minutes of when I emailed him. So, and I mean, it was a Sunday when I did it, so he didn't have to do what he did. But he emailed me back and gave me a few suggestions, few little things to look for, and you know, I went with what he said. And now the problem wasn't what he had suggested, but at least it got me to look at it a little closer, and I could find the problem. So, saying that, great customer service. And that's hard to find these days. So I do highly recommend these Decoder Buddies. They are a great thing. But if you want to see the size of a 603 resistor, right there at the end of my knife blade, that is a 603. That's the size of a 603 resistor. So I took two of those off of the board and soldered them on. So I'd like to find something. I know that knife blade, yeah, I guess that's a pretty good reference. So, I mean, they are tiny. They are tiny, but they're easy to put on. So, the next board that I get, I'll probably change out the resistors on it, and I'll go through that process. But so I went ahead and I finished this thing. So everything is nice and neat on here. The lights are under these covers, which I can't pull back off now. Yep, I'm not even going to try. Yeah, maybe I can get this one. Okay, so there's my bulb. I made that up. This is a new LED. So we'll put that back on there. I went ahead and I put the speaker facing down. That is a 11 by 15 cube, sugar cube. It's a Loksound. Got it on a piece of black styrene. So let's go ahead and I'll put this thing back together. Oh, zoom back out here. And make sure I get these holes lined up. And I must have a piece of wire stuck under, because it was rocking there on something. think I'm still rocking a little bit there. I think I may be hitting on the pins. Oh, right there's that resistor. See that? Let me see if I can zoom in on that. Yep. So that is a 603 size resistor. All right. Pull that off of there. So I think I'm going to have to trim these off. They are made a little long. So I don't think I'm catching on anything else. Let me try this again. Yeah, I'm going to have to trim those. That's all right. Okay. And I can just take and let's see if you can see that. They trim off easily. And that's not hurting anything. You can see the difference there in those. Make sure all the little pieces are out of there. Now let's try it. That's better. No rocking. All right. So we've got it all back together. I'll lay it up here on its side. Actually, I'll put the couplers on it. Now, I haven't programmed the decoder either, but I'll go ahead, put it all back together, and then I'll bring you back. All right, got this thing set up on the test stand. So let me fire it up here. We'll turn our headlight on, and remember this is running long hood forward, so that's the way I have it set up. And you can probably hear that little knock. This does need the gears replaced in it. I have them, and I will replace them. But this is the generic, that's the generic sound that they put in it. So I will program this. But let me slide around here. direction there. And you can see the light. Pull back a little bit there. So I think, other than programming this and putting it in, putting the gears on it, it's complete. So I'll go ahead and put the gears in it, and I'm going to call this project for now done. When I get the new sound file loaded into it, I'll bring you back and let you see the finished product.